Well, hey everybody, and welcome to this episode of Max's Models After Hours. And as you can see, I finally finished the Stagecoach. It's going to Tallahassee tomorrow. I'll show you some pictures of it that I took. I had to clean the shed to be able to put up a backdrop for this because that's so much crap. You can also tell this is where that resin damage happened. I got all that cleaned up and thrown away. But I was like, after all the incidents we had with, or near incidents we had with this Stagecoach, I was like, okay, I'm putting it over here where nothing, I clear out a spot, safe place, and didn't get anywhere near it, cleaned everything out, and then once everything was cleaned, hang the green screen, then put it up there, don't lean over it, don't work around it. For once, I'm starting to learn from my mistakes. It took me better than an hour just to tidy this place up. God, like somebody had thrown a freaking grenade in here. But anyway, it's done. There's a one clip on it, letting the glue dry on the reins on the driver's hand. That seems to have, the glue for some reason seems to have trouble bonding there, and I think it's because I had so many coats of paint on the driver. You see his right hand, the one that's closest to the camera, actually had a hole, so I could just trim down the reins and slide them through, tack glue them in place, perfect. But the other one, it's a knot, so I had to wrap the reins around it, and then they didn't want to bond. So if that one doesn't work, I'll switch over to white glue because it'll pretty much stick anything together. So I'm looking forward to doing my simple build after this, and that prompted something I wanted to talk about. This is a testament to how eagle-eyed and sharp-eared you guys are. When I was talking about this yesterday, I said that I want to put it in Air Force markings, you know, like the Air Corps adopted. I said Air Force one time, Air Corps the other. Somebody caught that and said, and you said Air Corps, it was Air Force in 47. Like, aha! And I wrote back to him and said, but I was referring to when it was adopted and tested in 41. So that brings up an interesting point, and that's not a criticism. It's very sharp that you guys catch those little things. I'm proud of you. But I actually did say that one the way I intended it, but it's an easy thing to get confused on because here's the deal. Okay, as you guys probably know, what's today the United States Air Force actually started off as part of the Army Signal Corps. And if you are in the Washington metropolitan area and you get a chance, go to the College Park Airport. Now, I used to live just not that far away from there, so I've been there several times. And College Park's the oldest continuously operating civilian airport in America, and it's also where the Army Signal Corps, when I had to think two Wright flyers, basically started. And they have a nice museum there, at least they did when I was there last. They have a nice museum with a great model collection. A lot of World War I stuff, beautifully made up, and some, oh my God, the German planes are all painted with a lozenge pattern. I was sitting like, oh God, that's masterwork. They also have a replica of full size of the Wright airplane that the Army bought, and a lot of the history there. And they used to have one of those 97th Aero Squadron restaurants, but sadly, those went away. It becomes the Air Service eventually. The Army Air Service actually have a poster to that effect in the house. And let's see, it becomes the Army Air Corps, and I forget when, maybe in the 20s, I forget offhand, I'd have to look it up, but before World War II, it was still the United States Army Air Corps. That's why some of the models you may have built would have USAAC. And I want to say it was in 42 or 43 it became the United States Army Air Force, which is why later models would have USAAF. But of course, a lot of the bombers just said U.S. Army because it was still a branch of the Army. And of course, after the war in 47, like an ungrateful child, tore themselves away from their true parent, the United States Army, in which I served, and went off like snot-nosed little kids and started their own service in those pretty blue uniforms. Now, that's of course 47, they became the United States Air Force, and that was an evolution that needed to happen. America was actually way behind on that. We're about the only country that didn't have an independent Air Force throughout World War II, at least I think so, because the Germans had the Luftwaffe, the Brits had the Royal Air Force, and what was the Italian, the Regia Aeronautica? But the point I'm driving at is that that's why it gets a little confusing for people. Now, before the war, you notice a lot of the naval aircraft were in this high visibility, and in fact, a lot of military aircraft in these high visibility yellow paint schemes, very pretty. Those were neutrality colors. They were painted like that to show that, hey, we're doing like coastal patrol or whatever. Hey, we're not part of the war. Big yellow airplane, yellow wings, red tails, whatever. Don't shoot at us. Of course, as war drew closer and we realized we weren't going to remain neutral, we started changing to more tactical paint schemes. Now, of course, before the war we had, and in the early part of the war, we had the blue circle with the white star and the red diamond. And early in the war, by mid-42, we realized that having red when you're fighting a country whose insignia is a big red dot, that's having problems with fracture size, especially because red is a color that carries well. You look up on a hazy day, you're likely to see the red before anything else, and I'm sure there were plenty of sufficient fracture side incidents. They blotted out the red and just put the blue circle with the white star. And I can tell you when that happened, because at the Battle of Coral Sea in early 42, it was at April, and Doolittle's aircraft, if I'm not mistaken, still had the red dot in the insignia. But a month later, by the Battle of Midway, they had gone to the solid white star, although there may have been a few aircraft that didn't have it done. In fact, if you look at some of the photographs of the airplanes from the Battle of Midway, you can see the red and white markings on the rudder bleeding through the new and usually darker gray paint. And there's if I can find it, I'll stick it up here, but there's a pretty well circulated photograph of a Marine Corps SBD-2 Dauntless that was at Midway Atoll that survived. It's peppered with bullet holes, but you can see the red and white stripes bleeding through the paint on the rudder. And eventually I decided, I think at 43, to put the white bar on, stick out the star, make it a little easy, a little more white, easier to see. And then somewhere in 43, some genius got the bright idea to put red trim around it, and then I think that only lasted 6 months. And then went back just to the white bar, and then by the end, by 47, of course, they become the Air Force. Everybody starts putting the red bar in the middle of the big white bar on the stars and bars, and like this. And so, and I researched attack aircraft. Now the reason I went through all of that was to explain what I'd said about this. The way I'm planning to do this is, I'm assuming that this airplane did pass muster with the Air Force, and that they went ahead and adopted the XP-50, and it became the P-50, and probably became a second-tier airplane by mid-war. And after the war, we would have given the guard units and reserve units. Well, a lot of guard units were the ones, and reserve units were the ones that got called up to go fly in Korea. So this would have been a hand-me-down airplane that might have seen interim action had it been adopted. Very likely it would have been, given its performance, probably would have been out of service by the end of the war, but you never know. So it's just sort of a what-if build, and some poor National Guard unit got sent to Korea with the thing until a stopgap. But in some ways it would have had an advantage over a Mustang. Of course, not nearly as fast, but the Mustangs actually had a pretty bad loss rate in the Korean War from ground fire because they're liquid cooled. It was an air superiority fighter in its day. And when they started using them for strafing and ground attack, they were really, that liquid coolant system, they were very vulnerable to ground fire. One hole in the radiator and you had about 5 minutes to get yourself someplace safe to put down or bail out. And but this does have radial engines, so, and it probably would have been up-engined and beefed up. I might do a little kit bashy on it, and kind of beef it up, maybe give it a bubble canopy. We'll see what I got in the spares box and what I can make, but I'll try to make something cool out of it. But a relaxing build, sort of like the Bob Ross school of building from Arena. Bob Ross, the painter, it's your world. This is gonna be my world, and I'm gonna build it the way I like. I thought about doing a parody episode about Bob Ross, if Bob Ross built models, but I couldn't find an afro wig. And by the way, from what I read, he hated that afro. That was something he'd done to make him look cool on camera. He never really liked it. And he was right down here in Daytona Beach, Florida, and we lost him way too soon, I think, to cancer. But then I thought, you know, I could kind of maybe do a little parody of it, but I really like Bob Ross. It would have to be respectful. And somebody said, well, what if you did an anti-Bob Ross builds models? You know, it's kind of like, you know, hi, this is my world and you're going to build it my way. If you get the color scheme wrong, you're an idiot and shouldn't be allowed near a model airplane. All right, now that we've established I'm better than you, and I was like, yeah, no, I don't want, yeah, but that might have been cute, but I don't think I have the time or energy anymore. Anywho, some of you guys answered my question. Apparently there is no kit of the Iron Giant. There might be resin out there somewhere, but all I found were the kid, well, I don't know if I call them kids toys, but the figure, but some are like 14, 16, one of them's even like 20 inches tall, and the price jumps from $20 to $100 all over the place. And I thought it might be kind of, but it's not a model. And you know, and I was like, well, if it was an Iron Giant model, I could, you know, make it my way and you know, go get maybe the new Aurora Godzilla that's come out and, you know, pose them off of each other, you know, kind of a what if thing. You know, send that Defiant Scale model. There's something you don't see every day. But if it's something I just pull out of a box and touch up with paint, somehow it kind of loses something. I mean, this is a model building channel. But anyway, so what do you guys think of the new beginning? There's a possibility I may do some recuts on it and put them at the end of this. And if I do, and you have a favor, just let me know which one. Won't be. There might be there won't be any shows tomorrow because I got to get up and head off to Tallahassee, so I probably won't have time to do anything. So no shows tomorrow, and hopefully Monday morning I'll be back. Guys, I want to thank everybody for everything. I did listen to those music CDs Mr. Cassidy sent me. I want to thank you again for that, and some great stuff in there. All right, anything else? That's it. Guys, you have a pleasant evening, and hopefully we will see you Monday morning. The